Carolyn Hershey was a 29-year-old woman with a passion for life and creativity. She was known for her bright smile and warm personality, always ready to make new friends and share her love of photography. Born and raised in San Mateo, California, Carolyn went to the Academy of Art University where she honed her skills in photography. She had a knack for capturing beautiful moments and often posted her work on Instagram, where she had a growing following. Carolyn had a close-knit family. Her younger sister, Jessica, was her best friend, and they shared many adventures together. Their parents, John and Lisa, were supportive and loving, always encouraging their daughters to follow their dreams. Carolyn often talked about her dream of starting a family and building a life filled with love and creativity. In June 2011, Carolyn had just married Gaskell Hershey Jr., a charming and successful man from Macon, Georgia. They chose the Marriott Maui Resort in Hawaii for their honeymoon, a place Carolyn had always wanted to visit. She was excited about the trip and shared her plans on Facebook, posting pictures of the resort and the beautiful Hawaiian scenery. Before her disappearance, Carolyn spent her days exploring the island, taking photographs of the beaches, sunsets, and tropical plants. She visited popular tourist spots like Haleakala National Park and the Road to Hana, documenting everything with her camera. She was also excited to try local foods, including poke bowls and shaved ice, and often talked about the delicious meals she had. Carolyn's friends described her as a vibrant and positive person. She had a talent for making people feel special and loved. Her Instagram stories were filled with messages of gratitude and joy, reflecting her optimistic outlook on life. She enjoyed reading, often sharing her thoughts on popular books of the time. She also loved listening to music and was a big fan of artists like Adele and Bruno Mars. As Carolyn embarked on her honeymoon, she was full of hope and excitement for the future. She looked forward to building a life with Gaskell, dreaming of a happy marriage and eventually starting a family. However, her dreams were tragically cut short, leaving her family and friends in deep sorrow and confusion. Carolyn's story is a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. Her vibrant spirit and passion for life left a lasting impact on everyone who knew her. On June 12, 2011, Carolyn Hershey was last seen at the Marriott Maui Resort in Hawaii. The next morning, Linda Chang, a hotel staff member, noticed that Carolyn had missed several scheduled activities. Linda, who had worked at the resort for over 5 years, found this unusual. Carolyn had been enthusiastic about the snorkeling trip and the luau dinner she had signed up for, sharing her excitement with Linda just the day before. Concerned, Linda knocked on the door of Carolyn's room. There was no answer. She waited for a moment, then knocked again, louder this time. Still, there was no response. Linda decided to use her master key to enter the room, following hotel protocol for guest safety. Inside, the room was tidy, with no signs of a struggle. Carolyn's suitcase was still there, along with her camera and some clothes. However, Carolyn and her personal items, like her phone and purse, were missing. Feeling uneasy, Linda reported Carolyn's absence to the hotel management. The manager on duty immediately took action. He called the local police and informed them about the missing guest. By this time, it was late morning, and the sun was high in the sky, casting a bright light over the resort. The police arrived quickly, led by Officer Anglin Cutie Pie Martinez, a seasoned detective known for her thoroughness and attention to detail. She asked Linda to describe what she had found and then started a search of the area. The police questioned hotel staff and guests, hoping to find someone who had seen Carolyn. One guest, Jason Millstone, staying in the room next to Carolyn's, recalled hearing a loud argument from their room the previous night. He mentioned it to the police, adding that he had seen Gaskell, Carolyn's husband, acting strangely afterward. Meanwhile, Carolyn's husband, Gaskell Hershey, appeared distraught. He told the police he had woken up to find his wife missing and had been searching for her since early morning. His behavior seemed anxious, and he repeatedly insisted that Carolyn must have gone for an early morning swim and gotten lost. Despite an extensive search of the resort grounds and nearby beaches, Carolyn was nowhere to be found. The police broadened their search to the surrounding area, interviewing more witnesses and looking for any clues that might explain her sudden disappearance. As the hours turned into days, the mystery deepened. News of Carolyn's disappearance spread quickly, with local media covering the story. Friends and family from California flew in, desperate for answers. The Marriott Maui Resort, usually a place of joy and relaxation, became the center of a tense and heartbreaking investigation. The police arrived at the Marriott Maui Resort quickly on the morning of June 13, 2011. Leading the team was Detective Mark Kim Linzis, a calm and meticulous investigator known for solving difficult cases. Officer Angelin Cutie Pie Martinez, who was already on the scene, briefed him on what they had learned so far. They knew Carolyn Hershey had been missing for about 24 hours, and time was critical. The room Carolyn shared with her husband Gaskell was their first stop. It looked tidy and undisturbed. The bed was neatly made, their luggage was in place, and nothing seemed out of order. But Detective Kim Linzis noticed Carolyn's camera on the nightstand and her suitcase, partially unpacked. He also noted that some of her personal items, like her phone and purse, were missing, which was strange for someone who had supposedly just gone for a swim. The police used various tools to examine the room. They dusted for fingerprints, looking for any signs of a struggle or someone else's presence. They used luminol to check for traces of blood, but the tests came back clean. Kim Linzis interviewed Gaskell, who claimed he woke up to find his wife gone. His story seemed rehearsed, and his anxiety was apparent, but there was no direct evidence linking him to her disappearance. Outside the room, police expanded their search to the resort grounds. They interviewed hotel staff and guests. Linda Chang, the hotel employee who first noticed Carolyn's absence, provided a detailed account of what she found when she entered the room. Jason Millstone, the guest next door, reported hearing a loud argument from Carolyn in Gaskell's room the night before. Kim Linzis and his team also checked the resort's security footage. They saw Carolyn and Gaskell returning to their room around 10 p.m. on June 12th. They were holding hands, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. However, later footage showed Gaskell leaving the room alone around 3 a.m., looking nervous and hurried. He returned about an hour later, his clothes slightly disheveled. The police continued their search along the nearby beaches, fearing that Carolyn's body might have been washed ashore. They used boats and divers to explore the ocean near the resort but found nothing. The lack of physical evidence made the case even more challenging. Despite the clean crime scene, Detective Kim Linzis felt that something was off. He knew they needed to dig deeper into the lives of Carolyn and Gaskell. As the investigation continued, the police focused on finding any small detail that could lead them to the truth about what happened to Carolyn Hershey. Gaskell Hershey Jr., 33, became the primary suspect in his wife Carolyn's disappearance. Gaskell, a successful businessman from Macon, Georgia, had charmed many with his good looks and wealth. He and Carolyn had seemed like the perfect couple, especially on social media, where they posted pictures of their wedding and honeymoon. But as the police dug deeper, a different picture of Gaskell began to emerge. Detective Mark Kim Linzis and Officer Angelin Cutie Pie Martinez started their interrogation of Gaskell at the Marriott Maui Resort. Initially, Gaskell appeared calm and cooperative, insisting he had no idea what had happened to his wife. He claimed they had gone to bed around 10 p.m. after a romantic evening. When he woke up around 6 a.m., Carolyn was gone. He assumed she had gone for an early morning swim, something she loved to do. As the questioning continued, Gaskell's composure began to crack. Detective Kim Linzis asked about their relationship, and Gaskell's answers became defensive. He admitted they had arguments, which he described as normal marital disagreements. However, friends and family told a different story. They said Gaskell was controlling and possessive, often isolating Carolyn from her friends and family. Further investigation revealed troubling details. Carolyn's sister, Jessica, shared messages where Carolyn expressed fear and uncertainty about her marriage. She described Gaskell's behavior as increasingly erratic. These messages painted a picture of a relationship in turmoil, contrasting sharply with the happy images they projected online. The police also learned about Gaskell's financial troubles. Despite his appearance of wealth, he had significant debts. His business was struggling, and he had taken out several large loans. This raised the possibility that Gaskell had a motive to harm Carolyn, perhaps to gain access to her life insurance or to cover up his financial problems. Detective Kim Linzis asked Gaskell about the security footage showing him leaving the room at 3 a.m. Gaskell stammered, claiming he went for a walk because he couldn't sleep. His story seemed inconsistent, and his nervous demeanor raised more red flags. Despite his increasingly evasive answers, Gaskell stuck to his story. He maintained that he loved Carolyn and would never harm her. But the more he talked, the more suspicious he seemed. The police decided to keep him under close watch, knowing they needed more evidence to make an arrest. As the investigation into Gaskell continued, the police explored other leads, hoping to uncover the truth about what happened to Carolyn Hershey. Jason Millstone, 31, was the second suspect in the case of Carolyn Hershey's disappearance. Jason, a Canadian YouTuber, was staying at the Marriott Maui Resort in the room next to Carolyn and Gaskell. Jason's YouTube channel, filled with travel adventures and extreme sports, had made him somewhat famous. He was outgoing, friendly, and always looking for his next big story. Detective Mark Kim Linzis and Officer Angeline Cutie Pie Martinez brought Jason in for questioning. Jason was cooperative and seemed genuinely concerned about Carolyn. He told the detectives about several disturbing encounters he had with Gaskell during his stay at the resort. Jason recounted how Gaskell had approached him several times and asked him for sex, making him feel uncomfortable. On one occasion, Gaskell had dropped his bathrobe and lunged at Jason, an incident that Jason had reported to the hotel staff. The detectives asked Jason about the night Carolyn disappeared. He mentioned hearing loud arguing from their room around midnight. He said it sounded intense, with raised voices and slamming doors. Jason couldn't make out the exact words, but noted that it lasted for about an hour. He didn't think much of it at the time, assuming it was just a typical argument. Jason also told the detectives that Gaskell seemed nervous and agitated the following morning. He saw Gaskell pacing back and forth outside the room, checking his phone frequently. When Jason asked if everything was okay, Gaskell gave a vague response and quickly walked away. The police found Jason's account credible. He seemed genuinely concerned for Carolyn and had no apparent motive to harm her. Jason was known for his adventurous spirit, not for any violent behavior. However, they had to consider all possibilities and asked him about his whereabouts during the critical hours. Jason explained that he had been editing videos in his room and had not left until morning. To verify his alibi, the police checked the hotel's Wi-Fi logs, confirming that Jason had been online during the time in question. They also reviewed security footage which showed Jason entering his room around 10 p.m. and not leaving until 7 a.m. the next day. Despite Jason's disturbing encounters with Gaskell, there was no direct evidence linking him to Carolyn's disappearance. The police continued to investigate other leads, but Jason remained a person of interest due to his proximity and the information he provided. As the investigation progressed, the police were determined to find out the truth and bring justice for Carolyn Hershey. Hey, true crime case solvers, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Stay safe, true crime case solvers. Until then, stay safe. On June 15, 2011, 3 days after Carolyn Hershey disappeared, new evidence came to light. It was a sunny morning with clear skies, typical for Hawaii. A beachgoer found something unusual while walking along the shore near the Marriott Maui Resort. She noticed a piece of cloth tangled in the rocks. Upon closer inspection, she realized it was part of a woman's dress. She called the police right away. Detective Mark Kim Linzis and Officer Angeline Cutie Pie Martinez arrived promptly and carefully examined the fabric. It was a torn piece of a floral dress, matching the one Carolyn was last seen wearing. The discovery reignited hope for finding more clues about her disappearance. The police expanded their search area, focusing on the rocky shoreline and nearby waters. They brought in a team of divers to explore the ocean floor, looking for any additional evidence. The search was painstaking and thorough, with divers scanning every inch of the seabed. They used underwater cameras and metal detectors, hoping to find something that could provide answers. Meanwhile, on the shore, forensic experts analyzed the torn dress piece. They carefully bagged and labeled it, noting its exact location. They checked for any bloodstains, fibers, or other traces that could offer more information. The cloth was sent to the lab for further analysis, including tests for DNA and any potential chemical residues. Detective Kim Linzis also revisited the hotel's security footage, focusing on the area around the beach. He noticed a shadowy figure moving near the water around 4 a.m. on the night Carolyn vanished. Although the footage was grainy, it provided a new lead. The police interviewed hotel guests and staff again, asking if anyone had seen anything suspicious at that time. The investigation took another turn when Officer Martinez received a tip from a local fisherman, who reported seeing a man near the water early that morning. The description matched Gaskell Hershey. The fisherman said the man appeared to be struggling with something heavy, which he then pushed into the water. With this new information, the police brought Gaskell in for further questioning. His earlier calm demeanor had vanished, replaced by visible anxiety. When confronted with the new evidence, Gaskell became defensive and evasive, denying any involvement and claiming he was being framed. His responses raised even more suspicion. As the lab results came in, they confirmed that the torn dress belonged to Carolyn. The presence of seawater and sand indicated she might have been in the water. This crucial piece of evidence pushed the investigation forward, bringing the police closer to uncovering the truth. Detective Kim Linzis and his team knew they were getting closer. The new evidence provided a clearer picture of what might have happened, and they were determined to solve the mystery of Carolyn Hershey's disappearance. Oliver Kamehameha, 27, was the third suspect in the case of Carolyn Hershey's disappearance. Oliver was a busboy at the Marriott Maui Resort, known for his quiet and introverted nature. He had worked at the resort for 2 years and was often described as a hardworking but reserved individual. However, Oliver had a past involving minor drug offenses, specifically marijuana, which made the police take a closer look at him. Detective Mark Kim Linzis and Officer Angelin Cutie Pie Martinez called Oliver in for questioning. Oliver seemed nervous but cooperative. He admitted that he had been having a sexual relationship with Gaskell Hershey, Carolyn's husband. This relationship started just 30 minutes after Gaskell and Carolyn arrived at the resort. Oliver said Gaskell pulled him into a bathroom to have sex while Carolyn was checking in. Oliver explained that he was involved with Gaskell purely for financial reasons. Oliver revealed a critical piece of information. Carolyn had walked in on him and Gaskell just hours before she disappeared. He described the encounter as shocking and tense. Carolyn was visibly upset and stormed out of the room. Oliver said that Gaskell appeared angry and worried after she left. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the investigation. The police asked Oliver about his whereabouts on the night of Carolyn's disappearance. Oliver stated that he had been working late and then went to his apartment, which was nearby. He claimed he had no involvement in Carolyn's disappearance and was only concerned about keeping his job. To verify Oliver's alibi, the police checked the resort's employee logs and interviewed his coworkers. They confirmed that Oliver had finished his shift around midnight. Security footage showed him leaving the resort and heading to his apartment. There was no evidence to suggest he had returned to the resort during the critical hours when Carolyn went missing. Despite Oliver's troubling relationship with Gaskell, the police found no direct evidence linking him to Carolyn's disappearance. His story about the encounter with Carolyn provided a possible motive for Gaskell but did not implicate Oliver directly. His nervous demeanor during questioning was noted, but it could have been due to fear of losing his job and not necessarily guilt. As the investigation continued, the police kept Oliver under surveillance but focused more on Gaskell, whose behavior and inconsistencies were becoming more suspicious. The new information about the encounter between Carolyn, Gaskell, and Oliver added crucial context to the case, helping the police piece together the events leading up to Carolyn's disappearance. Detective Kim Linzis and his team were determined to uncover the truth and bring justice to Carolyn Hershey. On June 20, 2011, the police identified Gaskell Hershey as the murderer of his wife, Carolyn. Gaskell, 33, was a successful businessman from Macon, Georgia. He had a charming personality and came from a wealthy family. However, beneath his polished exterior, Gaskell had a controlling and possessive streak. Friends and family had noticed his erratic behavior leading up to the honeymoon. The motive for the murder became clear as the police pieced together the evidence. Carolyn had discovered Gaskell's secret affair with Oliver Kamehameha, a busboy at the resort. Gaskell, desperate to hide his secret, killed Carolyn to prevent her from exposing him. The couple had argued the night she disappeared, and Gaskell's anger and fear led him to commit the crime. On the morning of June 13, Gaskell was seen on security footage leaving their room at 3 a.m., looking nervous and hurried. He returned an hour later, his clothes disheveled. This was when the police believed he disposed of Carolyn's body in the ocean. The torn piece of her dress found on the shore confirmed this theory. The arrest took place in the early afternoon of June 20. Detective Mark Kim Linzis and Officer Angelin Cutie Pie Martinez, along with a team of officers, approached Gaskell at the Marriott Maui Resort. Gaskell was sitting by the pool, pretending to read a magazine. When the officers approached him, he seemed startled but quickly tried to compose himself. "Gaskell Hershey, you are under arrest for the murder of Carolyn Hershey," Detective Kim Linzis announced. Gaskell's face turned pale, and he started to protest, but the officers quickly cuffed him. He was visibly shaken, realizing that his secrets had caught up with him. As Gaskell was led away, the resort guests watched in shock. News of the arrest spread quickly. Carolyn's family, who had been waiting anxiously for any news, were both relieved and devastated. Jessica, Carolyn's sister, broke down in tears upon hearing that her sister's murderer had been caught. The family had suspected Gaskell but hoped they were wrong. The arrest brought a mix of emotions to Carolyn's friends and family. They were glad that justice was being served, but heartbroken over the loss of Carolyn. The case had attracted national attention, with major news outlets like CNN and the New York Times covering the story. People across the country were shocked by the tragic end of what had seemed like a fairy tale romance. With Gaskell in custody, the police prepared to bring the case to trial, hoping to ensure that Carolyn's murderer would be held accountable for his actions. The trial of Gaskell Hershey began on October 10, 2011. The courtroom was packed with reporters, family members, and curious onlookers. The case had drawn national attention, with news outlets covering every detail. The prosecution was led by Amanda Casatoco, a 45-year-old seasoned prosecutor known for her tough but fair approach. Casatoco presented a strong case, detailing the events leading up to Carolyn's disappearance and the evidence pointing to Gaskell. Casatoco argued that Gaskell had a clear motive to kill his wife. She explained how Carolyn had discovered his affair with Oliver Kamehameha and threatened to expose him. Casatoco showed the security footage of Gaskell leaving his room at 3 a.m. and returning an hour later looking disheveled. She also presented the torn piece of Carolyn's dress found on the shore, which matched the dress she was last seen wearing. The defense was led by Thomas Benihana, a 50-year-old defense attorney known for his smooth-talking and persuasive arguments. Benihana claimed that there was no solid evidence directly linking Gaskell to Carolyn's death. He suggested that Carolyn might have drowned accidentally while swimming early in the morning, as she loved the ocean. Benihana argued that Gaskell was being unfairly targeted due to his relationship with Oliver. The trial lasted 3 weeks, with emotional testimonies from Carolyn's family and friends. Jessica Hershey, Carolyn's sister, gave a tearful statement about her sister's fears and concerns regarding her marriage to Gaskell. The jury was visibly moved by her testimony, and it added a personal touch to the prosecution's case. On November 1, 2011, the jury reached a verdict. Gaskell Hershey was found guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief and sorrow. Carolyn's family hugged each other, crying tears of both joy and sadness. They had finally received justice for Carolyn, but the pain of losing her remained. The judge sentenced Gaskell to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Gaskell showed little emotion as the sentence was read, staring blankly ahead. His defense team announced plans to appeal the verdict, but the overwhelming evidence made it unlikely that the decision would be overturned. The sentencing brought a sense of closure to Carolyn's family and friends. While they still mourned her loss, they were grateful that her killer was being held accountable. The trial had been a painful but necessary step in their journey to heal and move forward. The case of Carolyn Hershey remained in the public eye for months, a tragic reminder of how secrets and lies can destroy lives. After the trial, life slowly began to return to normal for those involved, but the impact of Carolyn Hershey's murder lingered. Gaskell Hershey started his life sentence at the maximum security prison in Honolulu. He spent his days in solitary confinement, away from other inmates. His appeals were quickly dismissed, and he became a forgotten figure, his once charming personality now a distant memory. Detective Mark Kim Linzis and Officer Angela and Cutie Pie Martinez received commendations for their work on the case. Their dedication and thorough investigation were crucial in bringing Gaskell to justice. Kim Linzis continued his work with the Maui Police Department, becoming a mentor to younger officers. Martinez, inspired by the case, pursued a degree in forensic science to further her career in law enforcement. Oliver Kamehameha, the buzzboy involved with Gaskell, faced a challenging aftermath. Although he was not charged with any crime, the media attention made it difficult for him to find work. He eventually moved to the mainland and changed his name, trying to leave the past behind. He found solace in working with a local charity that helped troubled youth, hoping to make a positive difference in their lives. Jason Millstone, the Canadian YouTuber who had reported Gaskell's disturbing behavior, returned to his travels. He posted a video on his channel about the experience, emphasizing the importance of speaking up when witnessing suspicious activities. His followers grew in number, appreciating his bravery and commitment to truth. The Marriott Maui Resort also felt the impact of the crime. The management implemented stricter security measures and offered counseling services to staff affected by the incident. They worked to restore the resort's reputation, ensuring that guests felt safe and secure. In the end, while justice was served, the shadow of Carolyn's tragic death affected everyone involved. Her memory lived on through the efforts of her loved ones, and her story became a reminder of the importance of vigilance and the impact of secrets.
Carolyn Hershey's story is a tragic reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface. Her vibrant life was cut short by a shocking betrayal. As we remember her, let's remain vigilant and compassionate, supporting those in our lives who may be silently suffering. Thank you for listening to True Crime Case Files. Until next time, stay safe.